So since my last video, most of my viewers have been asking, Wayne, since you're not chasing the market, what are you doing these days? And I say I'm doing pretty simple stuff. What I'm actually doing is I'm doing what is called cash secure puts. It's one of my favorite approach to investing. And so, I can tell you a little bit more about it. What it does for me as an individual and as an investor is that it gives me the opportunity to buy a stock that I like at a much lower price. And so I go in and I do a cash secure put at a strike price, probably about 10% where the current market is trading, and I get a premium. So I make some money doing that, make some money while waiting. The second thing is, if I'm assigned, I get the premium and I get into the stock 10-15% lower. So I'm always making money either way, and I'm not chasing the market. I'm not asking which stock is the next stock. I am just being very comfortable with what I do, very strategic, no hype, no stress. And so that's the first thing I will tell you about my cash secure puts. So just to reiterate and to probably just repeat a little bit more, but it will drive home the point that I'm making, is that I'm not chasing the hype. I'm chasing a process. I've established a process, and that's what I am following. I'm not chasing emotions, and I'm not chasing the next big stock move. So what I'm doing is I'm getting into a cash secure puts by selling to that bid price. So what I want is a process, and I've established a process already, so I don't have to keep reinventing it. I don't want hype. I don't want to make predictions. I know exactly what I'm doing. And so I'm selling a cash secure put at a strike price with a certain delta, possibly below 30 delta, and I'm getting that premium. And so I'm doing this with a stock that I love, okay? It has to be a stock that I love, because if I'm assigned, I get to buy the stock at 10, 15, 5% below the current price levels. And so I'm making money while I'm waiting, and I don't care if I'm assigned. If I'm assigned, I keep the stock and I do another trade on it. So that's what the cash secure put is about. And I'm not using a lot of capital, and my returns every month will be about 3 to 6, sometimes 7% if I go a little bit aggressive. But that's what my cash secure put approach is really about. So cash secure puts are not necessarily very exciting, but guess what? It sweetens you and it gets you a little bit excited when you see that premium hitting your account immediately, and it can be used for anything. Pay your rent, pay any kind of bills. So that's what I like about it. Most times if I need cash, I can move my premiums into another account. So are they super excited? No. They are probably boring too, because you have to wait over a time frame for them to materialize, but you don't have to wait on the premiums. And so, I would say they're not going to make you rich overnight. You have to follow a process. And I have found that building wealth usually comes from a process, not prediction. This is not a casino or a... So the basic fundamental questions I ask myself every time I do a trade is that, is the trade defined? Am I knowing what I want to accomplish? Have I established what I want to accomplish? And so it's defined. The other thing I would say is it predictable? Of course it is predictable. Do I know exactly what I'm trying to accomplish? Can I do it over and over again? Of course. And so these are questions that we have to ask ourselves. And it's a framework which I have defined and refined. And so the next thing I would say to you, hey, is it controllable? I can always control these trades with either rolling, merging, whatever, and getting the numbers different, using different strike dates, using different strike price. The other thing is it scalable? Of course it is a scalable, because guess what? The more you get more capital, the more you make more premiums, the more you make more money, you can grow this portfolio tremendously, easily and breathlessly. So those are questions that and the framework which I have developed, and it's very much not a rocket science. It's something that is achievable by everyone. So let's all bring this together with a real example. And what we are looking at here is the cash secure put opportunity. We're looking at the stock option chain for SoFi. And in this example, the stock is trading around $17.50. And I'm looking at the $16.50 strike price. Notice a few things. First, the delta is approximately 33, which is close to the sweet spot between 35 and say 15. That's an acceptable delta. That tells me that there's roughly 1 in 3 chances of the option finishing in the money. In other words, there is about 2 in 3 chances that I simply keep the premium and never acquire the shares. So if that happens, I'm not assigned. The second, I am collecting approximately 65 to 72 cents. In this case, I think it will be about 65, much closer to that, in premiums for agreeing to potentially buying the stock at about 16.50. And everything is on this screen there. You're seeing the delta at 33, the bid is at 65, and the strike price is at 16. This is the July 24th stock option chain. So we're about 30 days out. Now let's think about that. I'm not chasing the stock. I'm not trying to predict what happens tomorrow or next week or next month. I'm simply saying if this company falls to 1650, I'll be comfortable becoming an owner. And I am comfortable because I'm holding SoFi shares and I'm very bullish on this stock for the future. And so I don't mind picking it up below at 1650, which is pretty reasonable comparing that it's at 17, about 1750 right now. And I get paid while I'm waiting, and I've said that before. The key, or that's the key idea, or that is the key. I'm getting paid while I'm waiting. I'm getting paid to wait. Put it simple as that. Now there are only two outcomes. Outcome one, the stock stays above 16. The option expires worthless. I keep the premiums, and so my cash comes back into my account. I can go use it to do another trade. Outcome two, the stock falls below 1650 and I will get assigned. But remember, that's not a failure because I'm comfortable owning the shares. Plus, I've gotten some premium already. I selected a strike price where I'm willing to own the company in the first place. That's why I love cash secure puts. We've been talking about this for some times. They're not exciting, as I've said. They're not hyped. They're not gambling. They are a defined process. We have talked about a process, and it's a defined process. And very soon you're going to be able to get deep into this process that I've identified and refine, as I've said. It's not a rocket science, but it's simple, but it requires discipline and very good execution. It's also, in my mind, as I've said before, it's repeatable, it's controllable, and it's scalable. As my capital grows, I can simply repeat the same approach over and over again. And this is effortlessly. And that's really the philosophy behind my investing. No prediction, no headlines, no hype, just following a process. And that's why cash secure puts remain one of my favorite investing tools. And so I hope you do understand that and you can shoot me an email. And if you enjoy this market walk and found the value in it today, please let me know. Let me send me a text or a message. And in the next video, I hope to see you soon, whereby I will take it to the next step and I look forward to seeing you. I'm actually in the West Palm Beach area down by Natural Cove or Nature's Cove, and that's where I'm at. So very beautiful place. If you come to West Palm Beach, come and swing by here and take a look at it. Thank you and see you in the next video.